Welcome to the Richard Sherman podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Volumes YouTube channel to get more content. We coming at you 2 times a week. Subscribe now. All right, welcome to the Richard Sherman podcast. I'm your host, Richard Sherman. And here we are, live on AMP. Thank you for joining us. We're back at it again, Mitchell. Seattle, San Francisco both get wins. Big time.
You must be happy, Rich. You must be really happy. I mean, let's start with Seattle. I know we got a lot of Seattle listeners, and rightfully so. You got a good following up in Seattle. I don't know what you did up there to earn all the followers, but God bless it. They freaking love you, Rich. Talk to me about Seattle. They're 5-3. How does this happen?
Great coaching. Geno, MVP Geno Smith playing MVP ball. He's not going to get it because of Mahomes and Josh Allen, but he's got 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on the season. He's being the guy they need him to be, Kenneth Walker Jr. And guess what? The defense showed up. Mm-hmm. They held this boy, Daniel Jones, to, I think, 160 yards or so. I mean, he wasn't cooking. They didn't let him rush for a ton. They didn't let Saquon run wild. I mean, it's a lot of things to be excited for. DK wasn't as injured as everybody thought he was, which is great news. Tyler Lockett had kind of a rough day and then turned it all around with a double move touchdown on Adoree Jackson. It was really great, but I felt bad for my guy Richie James. That's a guy, old teammate of mine. I really is cheer for him every week, and that was a tough game for him. But Uchenna Nwosu is going crazy right now, Mitchell. He looks like a steal of a free agent pickup. Another 2-sack game for him, and your boy Kenneth Walker had a touchdown.
This draft class is going to go down in the record books. It has to. I mean, every single pick, for the most part, is making a contribution to this team. And they're allowing this team that was projected to be in the basement of this division to now be first place in the NFC West 8 weeks into the season. I mean, we talked about it last week. When we said, hey, 507 games into the season, if I were to tell you that at the beginning of the season, what would you say? Now 2 games over 500, 8 weeks into the season, 5-3, first place in NFC West. If I were to tell you that at the beginning of the season, Rich, what would you say?
Mitchell, you'd be insane. But if you also told me they'd be playing a 6-1 Giants this week, I'd also say this is a alternate universe where I don't belong, and I don't know where the Avengers are and Thanos, but they're somewhere around because this is insanity.
I know there's a little level of bias with your ties to Seattle, but we might be having conversations about Richard Sherman's power ranks and Seattle sniffing that 5th spot here pretty soon if they keep this up.
If they keep it up, Mitchell, I need them to keep it up for them to get that. They're doing a great job right now. They 3 in a row for them. Geno is 4th in QBR in the National Football League. He's being what Pete Carroll always needs his quarterbacks to be. Very careful with the ball, no careless turnovers. The defense didn't get turnover today, but the special teams got 2. I mean, this is what you need. This is Pete Carroll football. The 12th men were loud and proud, and they're back engaged in football games. It's going to be fun for them going forward.
They held Daniel Jones in check. He was finding his rhythm. He looked like a pretty darn good quarterback over the last week or two, and I think he was sub 20 yards at half passing. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. The one thing holding this team back was their defense, and they needed to step up in order to make this team take that next step. What have they done right over these last few weeks? It seems like we've seen this shift. All of a sudden, Seattle's got a pretty good defense. What have they done different?
They're mixing it up. They're an extra safety on the field. Ryan Neal played a really good game today. They're getting pass rushers back. They're putting some old faces on. Bruce Irving had some pressures on the quarterback, some TFLs. His leadership is invaluable. Big Al Woods in the middle is making a big difference. Jordan's playing really good football in the middle. In the secondary, I mean, yeah, the corners you just aren't hearing a lot. Michael Jackson had a really good game because you're not hearing their names. Tariq, you haven't heard his name in a while because after you catch 4 interceptions in 4 games, then people stop bothering you. They stop throwing it over there, and they get hip to the groove. Quandre Diggs is still back there doing his thing. Cody Barton had a sack today. They're getting contributions from all over the field. They're playing great team football. They're just being disciplined. Guys are in their gaps. Guys are setting edges. Guys are containing the football. They're doing what good, well-coached teams do. And offensively, they're doing the same. The rookies have come in ready to play. Again, I cannot overstate how ready to play these rookies came in. That's the difference in this season. That's the reason this isn't a rebuild season, because these guys came in and they're making huge impacts.
Well, last time they had a good draft class like this, you were in it, Rich, and that's how quickly franchise can turn around. It just can take one draft class, and they did it quick. Let's keep it in the division. Another team that you played for got back, finally got back in the win column, the San Francisco 49ers. Talk about what happened in L.A.
Mitchell, Jimmy G. Everybody's on Jimmy G's scalp. CMC, Christian, Jackson, McCaffrey had a heck of a game, balled out, a touchdown pass, a receiving touchdown, and he ran one in. He did it all. The first week, he had only a couple days to prepare. Everybody's like, oh, this trade doesn't look great. It's like, yeah, he only had a couple days to prepare. He's a pro, but come on, let's not get crazy.
The same basketball.
Look what happens when he got a whole week to prepare. He literally is the first 49er in history to throw, catch, and rush for a touchdown. Took him 2 weeks to make history. That's wild. But he had almost a buck on the ground. He had 55 yards receiving. He had a 34-yard touchdown to Brandon Ayuk, who had a nice game, 81 yards, a touchdown. Fred, 12 tackles, a sack. Nicholas John Bosa, my defensive MVP, is making sure you guys just don't forget about him. You know what I mean? You can't forget about Dre. You cannot forget about Nicholas Bosa. And he's having a heck of a season, his 8th sack of the year. And just they held Matt Stafford in check. They held Cooper Kupp in check. Didn't even have 100 yards this game. Every other game this season, every other game against the 49ers, he's getting 100 yards, because he's getting 14, 15 targets. This game, they held him under 100. They held Matt Stafford under 200 yards passing. They got a bye week. So hopefully that bye week is going to be huge for the 49ers, because if they can get Eric Armstead back, Javon Kinlaw back, oh my God, if Jason Verrett comes back, they become healthier and more dangerous. And even the guys that have come back, Charvarius Ward, Trent Williams, those guys get even healthier. Oh my God, it's going to get dangerous.
Well, to get a big win on the road in the division against a team they've owned in the regular season. Forget last playoffs. They're 8-0 in the last 8 games in the regular season against the Rams. How does that happen? I know this Rams team this year is, kind of lost in the shuffle, seems to have a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. It lost that electricity on offense, it seems. This Rams team has been pretty damn good over the last 4 years, excuse me. How in the world do the 49ers have their number on this team to this degree?
Mitchell, it's a little bit of big brother, little brother syndrome with Shanahan and McVay. He has an understanding of what McVay is trying to do because he taught McVay. They learned up under. It's like the master and the Padawan. It's just I don't know. Their players not playing well. Obviously, this year I think the 49ers have the better team, but they haven't always had the better team. And schematically, they just had them. They have answers for what the Rams are trying to do. It's like they're always a step ahead of them. They always have. It's even in the second half. McVay's only lost 2 games while leading at the half, and both of them against Kyle Shanahan. And that's crazy in itself, and it's always a need to have a game for the 49ers. This was a must-have game, and they get it just about every time. I'm sure I'd be excited to hear what Kyle has to say about it.
Well, the Rams, if they're treading water right now, and they're starting to get to the point where they might be drowning here in a bit. They're going on the road against Tampa, a team desperate for a win, really in the same situation as the Rams, really haven't formed that identity. Where do you see this Rams team netting out at the end of the season?
At home. I have a hard time seeing them in the playoffs because of that O-line. They have a ton of talent on defense. We thought they had 2 good receivers in Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson. For some reason, Allen Robinson hasn't come to fruition like you would imagine. You held out hope, hoping that, Odell in the future would come and rescue him like he did last year. That may not ever come to fruition. Even when he gets healthy, I don't think this team would be an attractive destination for Odell Beckham Jr. because there's other teams that want him, other teams that will be in contention. If the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs call, he'd be a fool to go to L.A. and those teams are calling. Even if the Green Bay Packers are calling. Dark horse, what if the Minnesota Vikings call? It gets crazy. The Rams have done a lot of things to try to stay in the good graces of Odell, but at the end of the day, he got to make the decision that's best for his career going forward. And if he thinks that's the Rams, they'd have to change some things very quickly.
Let's go across the pond. We saw a game this morning. I don't even know if you were awake. 6:30 a.m. your time. Were you out of bed at that time? Or
I was in bed, Mitchell, but I watched the game. I was in bed.
You watched the game. I watched the game too, and it was an entertaining one. I mean, it got off to a little bit of a slow start. Talk to me about this game for Denver. It was a big win for them. Russell had a little bit of a resurgence at the end of the game. Yeah, talk about how big of a win this is for Denver.
This is huge. The wheels were about to fall off the ship. It was going to be a lot of blame. People were saying they were going to leave Nathaniel Hackett in London if they lost this game. But Russell comes back, plays a really good second half, of the game. 18 for 30, 252, a touchdown. He threw a pick in the game, but Jerry Jeudy had a very solid game on the touchdown. He ran a really great route. But they didn't have a first down until 21 minutes into the game. There's still a lot of questions about this team and a lot of things they have to answer. The defense has been on the field way too long every game. And yes, they're battling. My boy KK got him a pick with a cast on. He's out there battling. They called a BS flag on him because he goes low and makes a heck of a play. The only way you can make the play with a tackle bearing down on him. But that's a story for a different day. But they gave up 156 yards to Travis Etienne Jr. In a rushing touchdown. That's uncharacteristic of this defense. Obviously, they held Trevor Lawrence in check. Huge red zone interception, Justin Simmons, which was a crazy throw by Trevor Lawrence is not getting enough heat. That's something I'm not understanding. Like, he was the number one pick. Like, they need to what is he doing? What is he doing? You throw across your body. Like, I hear them kill like Zach Wilson. They're killing Zach Wilson. You throw the crazy interceptions, like 3 of them in a game. Cool, crazy, yes. Like, he threw an interception from the 1 yard line. You know how I feel about that, Mitchell. Like, yeah. You threw an interception and you threw a stupid pass. Like, that was not even a wise decision. There was no way that was going to ever be completed. You were late throwing it back inside into the field. Like, what exactly were you thinking? He was the number one pick. Everybody's saying he's generational talent. He's the next Andrew Luck. No, he's not. He's not even close. Like, Luck ain't doing this. Luck is leading this team. Luck would have had those games won. They'd be 6-1 right now with Andrew Luck. Like, he's everything they thought Justin Herbert was. They said Justin Herbert doesn't love the game. He's disinterested. He's a pretty boy. He kind of just makes his way through the game. Like, you thought it was coaching. So you're like, hey, we'll give him a break, bad coach. Doug Peterson's a good coach. Like, they're running a pretty good offensive scheme.
Sure.
It should play to his strengths. He's just not making it happen. He's not making great decisions. He's not making plays with his legs. He's not making plays with his arm. All that arm talent you saw at Clemson, you're not seeing it now. Like, where is it at? And cool, first year, you're like, okay, all right. Second year, no. You don't get the excuse anymore. Like, you're pro. Make some plays.
Well, you see it in pieces with him, right? I mean, you see the big arm. He certainly looks to have that talent. Yeah, the whole tank for Trevor. I mean, the dude, remember this at Clemson. I mean, he was the guy. NFL teams were lining up, and at the end of that season, trying to lose games for this guy. And he hasn't been that spark plug. He hasn't been the differentiator for this team. And I mean, he's got the weapons. I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, they have enough weapons to make things happen. And certainly defensively, they got a hell of a lot of talent. This Jaguars team is a team that if they can get right, if Trevor Lawrence can get his act together, that they could be competitive. But at this point in time, they're not.
If was a fifth, Mitchell,
we'd
the
all
phrase.
Be drunk.
We'd all
Richard,
be drunk.
I know we get heat you get heat for the Russell Wilson conversations, but we didn't bring this one up. This is one he brought on himself, and he was going viral on it because of his acts on the plane on the way over. Doing the high knees, stretching, working out for 4 of the 8 hours. I'm sure you guys saw the memes. It was all over the internet. But is this something that's new? I mean, from Russell and other teammates, working out on these long flights, getting in when you can, or is this just like one of those rare, random, odd things from a random odd guy?
A little bit of both, Mitchell. I mean, guys, veterans especially, you on a 8-9 hour flight, you're gonna get up and move around, and your trainers and your everybody's gonna tell you, hey, you need to get up, move around, you need to try to get your blood flowing, because otherwise you got to play a game eventually, and you're gonna be stagnant. You're flying across the pond,
sure.
Like it's gonna be different. But for 4 hours, Mitchell, 4 hours is a bit excessive, Mitchell. That seems a bit exaggerated. Like, To watch the film, that makes sense. To 4 hours, I'm trying to figure out exactly what you'd be doing for 4 hours. I mean, he's breaking a sweat. I don't know what kind of plane they had or what kind of aisles they had, but 4 hours is a bit long to do anything, Mitchell. I don't know many players who work out on a regular day for 4 hours.
Right. Let alone doing some high knees, walking lunges down the aisle for 4 hours. I mean, I get it to a degree, Rich, and I know guys are working out in their hotel rooms, and getting it in wherever they can. And I remember visiting you during the Super Bowl before you guys took on the Chiefs, and guys were working out in the hotel lobbies, But certainly this seems odd and random, no question about it.
It is, but it worked. They got the win in the National Football League. That's all that matters. You get the win. If you got a voodoo doll in your locker, keep it in there because we need to win next week too. And they gotta keep it close. They break a 4-game losing streak. We'll see if this gets them any momentum. But the offense still did not look. It still looked disconnected. They still got a lot of questions to answer, and they better answer them soon.
So let's go down to Dallas. This is a team that's getting hot. They look really good offensively today. They look great defensively. Micah Parsons is a freaking stud. I don't know what Josh Fields is doing, not touching him down on that fumble recovery, but I suppose he thinks he's still playing at Ohio State. But I think the big story and takeaway from this day, at least from me, is the differentiator and difference maker Tony Pollard can be out of the backfield when he's by himself. I know Zeke is cash strapped to this team for the next few years, but I don't know, man. It might be time to just call a spade and let the better man play and let him play more often. Every single time Tony Pollard touches the ball 15 times or more, the Cowboys win. They're 8-0 in the last 8 games that Tony Pollard has touched the ball 15 times or more. For those of us playing fantasy football out there, tell me Tony Pollard would not be a top 5 pick without Zeke in Dallas. I mean, I called it at the beginning of the year, Rich, and I'm going to stand on my pedestal and boast a little bit here. Tony Pollard is a stud, and he makes this team a hell of a lot better offensively. Chime in, Rich. Tell me I'm wrong.
Mitchell, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I said it weeks ago. I said if Zeke wasn't making that amount of money, then Tony Pollard would be the starter and getting the snaps. You got all these Dallas fans in our mentions, all these Dallas fans in the comments. He can't pass protect. He can't pass. I don't care. I don't care what he can do. You know what he can do? He can tote it. He can be explosive. He is explosive. The offense is explosive when he's in the game. You hand it to him, there's a chance at a home run every time. That used to be the case with Zeke. Father Time is undefeated, especially with running backs in the National Football League. But guess who's not going anywhere? Zeke. Zeke is not going anywhere, Dallas Cowboys fans. So even if you agree with me, even if you finally seen the light, guess what? He ain't going nowhere. He is staying a Dallas Cowboy, and he's making a lot of money. But you know who's probably going to go somewhere? Tony Pollard. He's going to go make himself a lot of money, deservedly so, because he's a starting running back in the National Football League, and he's not getting treated as such in Dallas. And 15 touches in a game where he was going off, averaging almost 10 yards a carry. Is that like, what are they doing? Like, he's averaging 10 yards. Keep giving him the ball. But for some reason, I don't know what it is that, some players in this league just get the short end of the stick. And it just seems like he's getting the short end of the stick, even though he's showing like, hey, I can make it happen now, Captain. But they're not going to give him a shot, and it is what it is. He's taking advantage of his opportunity. But Dak is going crazy. Dak is looking like an old self. He had an uncharacteristic interception, but he was doing a thing. He was doing what he's supposed to do. And again, back to what we talked about when Cooper Rush was playing, they are not throwing it 50 times a game. They're keeping it under 30 passes, and they're running the ball, which is all you can ask. I mean, the concerning thing is you still don't have a 100-yard receiver on the season. That's a bit of a concern. You expect one of these guys, CD Lamb has gotten a lot of attention and got a lot of hype, and we haven't seen a 100-yard game from him. Gallup, there hasn't been a 100-yard game from him. So that's a concern. But Cowboys are doing their thing, man, and they got a bye week so they can get healthier. And Chicago, Justin Fields, I mean, I don't know what you were doing on that play. I mean, he was pretty efficient this game with the ball. He didn't throw any interceptions, 2 touchdowns. He was running the ball. They're finally doing what they're supposed to do on offense. They just don't have enough talent
The Chicago Bears are finally a watchable team is what I'll categorize them as. Right. I mean, before, you flip on the TV and you're like, man, is water polo on? I don't know if I want to watch these guys anymore. But,
sheesh.
I mean, they've running the ball 200-plus yards in the last 3 games. They're establishing an identity, and they're doing what you said. They're playing into Justin Fields' strengths. But, again, that fumble return for a touchdown really was the breaking point in this game. They just couldn't keep up anymore. A game that everyone thought was going to be a complete waste of time, a game that we thought would be searching for the channel changer to flip this game off as quick as possible, turned into be the best game of the weekend. And that's down in Atlanta. The Atlanta Falcons taking on the lowly Carolina Panthers, who have all of a sudden become an exciting team ever since they traded Christian McCaffrey. Deontay Foreman's got to be pretty happy he's in that role right now. Who's probably not so happy is DJ Moore. Big play. Obviously emotions are high. You catch a Hail Mary in the waning seconds of the game to tie the game and to have an opportunity to win it with the point after, and you proceed to rip your helmet off and do what you do. I get it. Emotions are high, but Richard, that's your teammate. What are you saying to him?
Nothing. The kicker sucked. No, we're not saying nothing for him. We're not saying nothing to that kid. He made a hell of a play, and you can get mad all you want. He earned the right to do whatever the heck he wanted after that play. You had no chance of winning the ball game. He caught a Hail Mary, heck of a pass by P.J. Walker, heck of a catch by him. Kickers, do your job. You got one job. Do your job. And he didn't just miss the extra point. He said, you know what? When we get to OT, I'm going to get another shot. And I'm going to miss that one too. Like, that's who you need to be talking about. DJ Moore should get credit for giving him a chance to win that ball game. Like, I hate the Monday morning quarterback in this situation. Like, he made a heck of a play. Like, sure, celebrate with your teammates, keep your helmet, whatever. If he kicked the extra point and makes the extra point like his job is supposed to do, or if DJ Moore doesn't do his job like Pinero didn't, then he drops that pass and we're not talking about nothing, But if everybody does their job, the kicker has one job. It's a very difficult job. There's only 32 kickers, but that's why you don't have to condition. You don't get your body beat up like that. You have your very specific job, and if you can't do that, I'm sure there's going to be a new kicker for the Panthers come Monday. And so that's why I'm putting this one on. DJ Moore had 6 receptions for 152 and a tug. He did his job. C.J. Henderson, Dante Jackson had interceptions. The defense is playing well. This was a team that was supposed to be given up on. I still don't care about the game, Mitchell. It's the NFC South. They have a losing record, and I hear you. I want to say they're going to be relevant in January, but I don't see any of these teams being relevant in January. Maybe Tampa if they can figure it out because you got Tom, but outside of that, let's not get crazy.
They're looking like the doormat of the NFL.
But Rich, you know who's going to be good? Kirko, 6-1. Kirko, 6-1. Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell. They do not look like a joke. They do not look like a joke.
They don't. And I know I took a little bit of heat in the comment section when I said, how the hell is this Minnesota team 4-1? This is a couple weeks ago. I didn't believe in him, and maybe I should believe in him. Maybe I should believe in my fellow Spartan. Come on, Kirk Cousins. I used to watch that guy when I was in college.
Right.
This guy carried the Spartans to a Rose Bowl, for God's sake. Borderline legend. And maybe I was wrong with the Vikings, though.
You look wrong, Mitchell. Kirko. I told people, when Kirk is hot, he can do it now. Like, he 2 touchdowns, 24 for 36, 232. Dalvin Cook. A good running game makes every quarterback's life a lot easier. And also having Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen makes every quarterback's job a lot easier. But Zadarius Smith and that defense, Patrick Peterson, don't forget Pat P, had a message for the Arizona Cardinals. He over there playing the Xbox, sending a message to Kyler, playing the Xbox. Kyler, if you wasn't playing the Xbox, then you wouldn't be having to deal with me today. But if you would have watched the tape over the last decade or so, then you would know who Patrick Peterson is and not to deal with him. But you tried to deal with him and you got dealt with. It was cool to see. I always like people from my class. That 2011 class near and dear to my heart. And they balled out. DeAndre Hopkins, come back tour is back. 12 for 159 and a tug, one-hander. It was crazy.
Yeah. Patrick Peterson, like you said, his revenge game. You've been in that same situation before. going back to Seattle, playing in front of the 12s, a fan base that loved and adored you for years. I know you guys say as athletes, oh, just another game. Like, truthfully, Rich, is it just another game playing against your former team?
Mitchell, it's just another game that you want to win, and you want to show your cheeks, and you want to make them mad. You want to make them jealous. It's like you want to make them see what they missing, and he made them see it. They won the game. They got good corner play and all that, but they lost, and the reason they lost, he had a lot to do with it. He had multiple deflections. He made an impact throughout the game. Made Kyler's life very difficult. Kyler is 31-44. Kyler's not having a bad game. They're really finding a rhythm with that offense, 6 for 36, but it's just not enough. And that division's getting away from them. And again, the NFC North, that was the A-Rod Invitational for the last 2 decades, is looking like Minnesota's to lose.
It's Kirk Cousins territory in time now, Rich. But we talked about the Cardinals a little bit. I mean, this is a team, they seem to get a little bit of their I don't know what the word is exactly. This team was a team without any sort of clarity, really. I mean, you didn't know who they were week to week, and it seems like they found their footing a little bit more with DeAndre Hopkins back. But Kyler Murray, I mean, to me, just doesn't look like a guy you pay north of $40 million a year. I mean, first, your thoughts on that, Rich, and how much does paying somebody like Kyler that amount of money impact this franchise going forward?
Well, he's married to the coach. They're going to go as he goes. And just like every other quarterback that gets a lot of money, you're going to be stuck with him for a while. And that's the thing about this league. When you draft a quarterback early, they drafted him after they had already drafted Josh Rosen with the top 10 pick. And so the new coaching staff, they had to, say, we made a mistake. This new coaching staff wants another quarterback. So they have to eat that. And so you compound that with saying, hey, he hasn't had a lot of success. I mean, he's kind of doing what we want him to do. He got us to the playoffs technically, but how many good quarterbacks and how many people can we acclimate to? Or like, do we want to go back into rebuilding? No, we don't want to go back into rebuilding. So what are our options? He has them he had them. They had to make a decision. They had to extend them. And that's what's happening. Like Trevor Lawrence, he just needs one good year and he'll have the Jacksonville Jaguars to say, hey, would you take a average to above average quarterback or have a below average quarterback? And if you take an average to a little above average quarterback and pay him the amount of money that you're paying him, this is the situation you get into. Like, you're married to him, your team's 3-5, and you don't see a lot of hope in the future. It's not like you have a lot of picks. Like Seattle Seahawks have hope because they have multiple first-round picks. They have cap room. They have all these things going for them. They're an attractive destination, a head coach people want to play for. Right now, Arizona doesn't have that. They have some good players. They have DeAndre Hopkins, and they're starting to make things happen on offense. But the quarterback, is still a wild card.